this was a civil rights lawsuit we filed on behalf of the magistrate who was fired from her job for comments she made as a citizen about really the court's failures and the court system's failures in allowing a rapist to get out of jail and then go murder the victim. I have another great piece of news here. We had a big victory in federal court this week, or I guess it was last week. A federal court allowed a Judicial Watch lawsuit filed on behalf of a magistrate who was fired for comments on a released rapist's murder of his victim to go forward. So this was a civil rights lawsuit we filed on behalf of the magistrate who was fired from her job for comments she made as a citizen about really the court's failures and the court system's failures in allowing a rapist to get out of jail and then go murder the victim. And so we filed this lawsuit, and the court and the defendants went in and objected and tried to get it dismissed out of hand, and the federal court said no. I mean, they dismissed parts of the lawsuit, but the heart of the lawsuit continues. The First Amendment claim continues, and it's an important issue that I want to explain to you further. The judge ruled that the lawsuit can go forward on behalf of former Virginia Magistrate Elizabeth Fuller against officials in the Office of the Executive Secretary of Magistrate Services for firing Fuller in violation of her First Amendment rights. On October 19th, 2021, Fuller was fired from her position as a magistrate after commenting to the Alexandria Times as part of a discussion about the publicly available outcome of her own 2020 complaint that she had filed against a bondsman named Mayan Niguin. The judge's order states that the court finds that Fuller had sufficiently alleged a First Amendment violation to survive a motion to dismiss. Her comments to the Alexandria Times, the court wrote, facially concern a matter of public interest. Her comments concern the murder of Ms. Dominguez, which had received media attention and, quote, fueled public debate about lenient law enforcement and bail practices in the Commonwealth of Virginia and nationwide. Her murder was even discussed by then Virginia delegate, now Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares, during a floor debate on bail reform in the Virginia General Assembly. In her comments to the Alexandria Times, Fuller appeared to express her discontentment with the actions of the various folks involved and her belief that Ms. Dominguez's death was, quote, entirely preventable if anybody in the process had been doing their job effectively. And because she spoke to the Alexandria Times about that, they fired her. And so we're so pleased that we will have this ability to defend and get into discovery and vindicate her First Amendment claims in court. On or about January 13th, 2020, Ibram Elaki Bouachi was arrested and indicted by a grand jury for burglary with the intent to commit murder, abduction, sodomy, strangulation, and rape of Karla Elizabeth Dominguez Gonzalez. Notwithstanding the seriousness of these charges, the Alexandria Circuit Court, Alexandria, those of you who aren't in the D.C. area, it's right across the river. It's right there across the river from D.C., just down a little bit south of D.C., across the Potomac River in Virginia. The Alexandria Circuit Court released Bouachi on a $25,000 bond in April of 2020. Less than 4 months after his release on bail, Bouachi on July 29, 2020, reportedly drove to Dominguez's residence in Alexandria, Virginia, and shot and killed her outside her apartment complex. And as we pointed out in the initial complaint, in the immediate days following the news report about the murder, Fuller learned from a police officer in the citizen lobby of the magistrate's office that the vehicle and gun reportedly used by Bouachi to murder Dominguez belonged to the surety bail bondsman Mayan Niguin, who posted the $25,000 bond for Bouachi's release in April 2020. On information and belief, the bondsman and the officer struck a casual conversation while they were waiting in the citizens lobby when Niguin said it was his gun and car that Bouachi used to murder Dominguez, and he had let Bouachi stay at his house while he was away on vacation. The officer subsequently relayed the information to the plaintiff as part of a casual conversation among friendly colleagues outside any hearing or proceeding. This is important because she didn't learn this information, our client did, in her capacity as a judge. She learned it in scuttlebutt in the hallways. On August 6, in 2020, Fuller, in her personal capacity, filed a complaint with the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services alleging that Nigan had violated rules and regulations of his licensure as a surety bail bondsman. On September 1st, 2020, his license was suspended and revoked as a result. And Fuller understood that that concluded the matter. So she did do some great work there in acting as a citizen to get this bondsman out of the business of being a bondsman after he violated virtually every rule they have, practically speaking, to allow this accused rapist to stay at his home and then have access to, it looks like, his gun and his car to kill that poor woman. More than a year later, the Alexandria Times disclosed the contents of Fuller's complaint and other information obtained through a third party's Freedom of Information Act request, there's the FOIA, regarding the bail bondsman's involvement, and subsequently approached Fuller for comment about the complaint in 2021. So this is over a year later. The newspaper goes to our client and says, what about this complaint you filed? And this is what she said. She said that the bail bondsman came to work in the days following the murder, nearly boasting and joking about the fact that the gun and car belonged to him and that the murderer had stayed at his home. The bondsman was telling this officer, this is a quote, about what happened and almost bragging about it. The officer said to me, "You'll never believe what he just said to me." So I said, "I've got to do something about it." And what happened? 5 days after that was published, she was fired. She was fired. Well, she was placed on she was placed on administrative leave 5 days after it happened and fired a few weeks later. Supposedly for violating a canon which states a magistrate shall abstain from public comment about a pending, impending, or concluded proceeding in any court or magistrate's office. Well, there was no pending, impending, or concluded proceeding. And besides, she had an independent right to talk as a citizen. Fuller filed a grievance and asked for reinstatement, which was denied, so we sued. She was engaged in constitutionally protected speech, which undeniably addressed matters of public concern, and the court found, at least at this stage in the case, that we made a plausible showing in that regard. Simply put, as I said in this lawsuit, in this press release, Ms. Fuller embarrassed Virginia's court officials over their deadly soft-on-crime bail policies. And as this federal court just noted, our client commented on a serious public safety matter of widespread public interest. So this lawsuit will now proceed to discovery and we hope ultimately to trial. Now, Liz Fuller had a comment as well, and I want to share our client's comment with you. I'm so proud that Judicial Watch was so gracious to represent me before the federal court to secure this important victory for my First Amendment rights. This ultimately is not simply about whether or not I have a job, but about an innocent rape victim who unjustly and needlessly lost her life. It gives me hope that her story continues to be heard through this case, independent of the outcome. So we are so happy for not only Liz Fuller, but you can see why this is an important issue otherwise. I mean, first of all, you had these soft-on-crime policies that led to this poor woman getting murdered, and the one person in the judicial system who did something about it, independent of the judicial system, it looks like, gets fired. I mean, talk about backwards, right? And so we're so pleased that the federal court's allowing this case to proceed. It's an important case. And, I mean, she didn't deserve to be fired. I mean, she should get a medal. I don't know if they give medals for things like that, but you know what I mean. So we'll keep you updated as the case proceeds and as important things happen. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.